Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our 2025 Child Care Town Hall. As one of Georgia's 72,000 early educators and child care professionals, you work with our babies and young children every day. That means you are our state's backbone and the ultimate authority on the state's current state of early childhood. No voice matters more than yours. When advocating for policies, critical to the success of the field and supporting the success of the children you serve. We, the 22 organizations producing this town hall, have heard you already. We've seen your hard work and love and dedication to your students. We've borne witness to your challenges. Every day, we're lobbying on behalf in legislative offices under the Gold Dome and within our community work. Thank you for showing up and speaking up at this gathering. Even if you're a quiet participant, your presence at the town hall will be felt. Most of all, through this town hall, we hope you'll recognize your power and learn how to make a difference. After our first town hall last year, the state legislature doubled its investment in CAPS. When we band together as a large, unified community, our power cannot be ignored. It's time to take your seat at the table. I just want to go over some quick tech. Since this is a webinar platform, the chat feature is limited. However, if you have questions, please feel free to use the Q&A feature that you can find at the bottom of your screen. Additionally, feel free to turn on your transcripts as well. We will be doing 3 raffles throughout the town hall, so we highly encourage you to stay on for the whole 1-hour event. Today, we are going to talk about the importance of advocating and how to advocate, provide you with state and federal updates relevant to our field, and give you concrete ways to make your voice heard. I am now going to turn it over to Ellen Cochran. Thank you.
Thank you, Tatiana. Hi, everyone. I am Ellen Cochran, President and CEO of Quality Care for Children. So let's start off today by talking about the state of childcare in Georgia. We really want to hear from you. So we are going to use Slido today for the town hall to be able to get some responses and hear your perspectives on things like what's happening in the state of childcare. So we're going to ask you to either use the link in the chat, scan the QR code you see here on the screen, or go to slido.com and use the code pound 7200, which you should be able to remember for the 72,000 early education staff we have here in Georgia and teachers. So let's turn it over to you all now to give us in one word or short phrase in Slido, describe the state of childcare in Georgia right now. I see the responses starting to come in. I'm seeing some words from you all around stressful, around short-staffed, around unpredictable, overworked, chaotic, messy. Thank you all. Please continue to give us some of these phrases. Thank you for sharing with us your experience. You know, you are not alone. Here at Quality Care for Children, every year we survey our child care community. We like to know what's happening, what the experiences are, what have happened over the last year. These results you're seeing here are from our survey last March in 2024. Back in 2024, we saw that 47% raised their tuition rates or fees in the year before. 61% of our providers indicated they have increased wait lists. 68% they could serve more children if they had more teachers. And 12% at that time indicated that they may have to close their child care program completely. We want to continue to hear from you, whether it be through today, through our Slido, or for our providers on the call today. We are putting out a new survey that is going out this week to providers so that we can share this with our community around what is happening in the state of childcare. So thank you all for participating with us. I want to turn it over to Hannah Goldberg.
Thank you so much, Ellen, and good evening, everyone. My name is Hannah Goldberg. I'm the Research and Policy Director at GEEARS. And now that we've got you, hopefully, in the hang of Slido, we're going to ask you another question. And you'll see that question here on the screen, along with instructions to join. If you weren't able to earlier with that QR code, you can check the chat, or you can use that code at slido.com. We want to know, what is your biggest concern as a child care professional right now? And I'll give you all just a few moments to start answering that question. Okay, I know you all can see these responses coming through. Money, enrollment, a lack of teachers, quality, policies coming down from the federal level, which we're going to talk about in a bit, enrollment, low enrollment, whether you all will still have a career in the coming months. And again, seeing funding and quality coming up as well. We encourage you to continue to participate in this poll as we are gathering your feedback. Thank you all so much for sharing. We are definitely seeing some themes emerge here, and know that many of the concerns that you're sharing are the reason that we decided to host this town hall this evening. So Ellen was able to share with you all some findings from their survey of providers. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about some findings from a parent poll. So GEEARS frequently commissions polls of parents with young children to understand the challenges that they are facing. And since 2018, we've partnered with the Metro Atlanta Chamber to help quantify the economic impact of childcare challenges. So what you all are seeing here is hot off the press data. This is, you really are seeing it before anyone else. This is not even published yet. But we wanted to share a little bit with you. Some of this may not come as a surprise, but what families are experiencing when it comes to childcare, and how we can work together with families to hopefully advocate for improvements. So one of the questions that we asked in our latest poll that we hadn't asked before was whether families were making different decisions about growing their family because of the challenges related to childcare and to the cost of childcare in particular. And we see here that over half, 53%, said that they had in fact delayed or decided not to have more children as a result of childcare costs. And we know that, you know, the workforce of tomorrow is in our early learning programs now. And from purely an economic standpoint, we know that we need to ensure that there is a workforce of tomorrow. So we want to make sure that families are able to access high quality and affordable care. We also found that 1 in 3 said that they or another parent or caregiver in their house had to make a significant change to their job. So they're either leaving, not taking, or significantly changing it in the last 12 years. So this isn't ever, or 12 months, this isn't ever, this is simply in the last 12 months if they've had to make that change because of childcare challenges. These are big numbers that are affecting employers and the state's bottom line. Next, you see it's not just these longer term bigger disruptions, but also shorter term disruptions. And we see that parents missed an average of 10.2 days of work in the past 6 months alone because of challenges related to childcare. And then here is this big number that you are among the very first to see. We did this analysis in 2018 and did it again this past year. And we found that those childcare challenges have a huge economic impact on the state as a whole, leading to at least $2.5 billion with a B in lost economic activity annually. All right, and I'm going to turn it over to Jessica.
Yes. Hi, everybody. My name is Jessica Woljan. I am also with GEEARS. I'm so pleased that you all are here with us today. And we want to talk a little bit before we get into sort of some of the basics of advocacy and what you can do to take action about why advocacy is important. We know that all of you are very busy, and we really appreciate your time tonight. And so want to hear from you on that Slido. Why is advocacy important to you and to other early educators? And while you complete that Slido, we're actually going to hear from a couple of childcare providers themselves And we are going to start with Sabrina Boakes-Kroll from Douglas County Head Start.
Hi, my name is Sabrina Boakes-Kroll. I have been in the child care industry for nearly 30 years now. I'm currently the curriculum director at Douglas County Head Start. And the reason why advocacy is so important to me is because I really believe in what I do, building strong children. And they can't go to Congress to go talk. So I have to be the voice for them. I got involved in 2020 during the pandemic. I had a lot of extra time. So I was like, hey, why not pick up and do this? And it was so easy for me to do. And there are people, Jessica is very good about helping you to formulate letters or have meetings. And I'm very appreciative of that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sabrina. I really appreciate it. And a lot of what you echoed in your remarks are being shared on the Slido, so please keep entering those on the Slido. And please, next we're gonna hear from Tara, who's with Easter Seals of North Georgia.
Good evening. Yes, I'm Tara Parks, and I'm with Easter Seals, and I've been in the Head Start industry for over 30 years as well. So there is some longevity out here on this poll. My purpose for working with with Head Start for so many years is to help to empower the parents so that they could be advocates for their own children, not only in the Head Start setting, but also in the school setting. Preparing children to be school ready. We know that prisons are built around our children, our ages, around third grade, and we want to try to eliminate that by, again, empowering the parents to be advocates for their children. Also, having the parents to be more involved in their community. We know that community engagement also helps the families to be successful because at that point, they understand the resources within their community. So I'm in it, again, for the children and for the families and to help build stronger communities. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tara. And I love supporting the families. Like, y'all are truly in it for the families and for the love of the work. It's not for the money, to be sure. And so a couple of things that I love that I've seen coming in is I advocate because it works. And also things around empowerment and educating. It's already gone away, but things around educating policymakers about the important work that you do. And then I did want to call up also Dr. Clara Herrera from Little School.
Hello everyone, childcare advocates. My name is Clara Herrera, and I am the president of the Professional Family Childcare Alliance of Georgia, which is also the coordinator of the Little School Play and Learn and Family and Community Engagement Program, which is a community-based program which serves children who are 3 and 4 year olds in the year before pre-K. The Little School is part of the Ready School, sponsored by the United Way of Greater Atlanta. PFCCAG, the Professional Family Childcare Alliance in Georgia, is a source of information about family childcare in Georgia. Whether you are thinking about starting a family childcare home, operating a family childcare business, or working to support these remarkable small business owners. The Professional Family Childcare Alliance of Georgia, PFCCAG, is here for you, as we are the voice of family childcare in the state. Both PFCCAG and the Little School Ready School know that advocating for family childcare and childcare in general as a community-based learning program is essential. It is empower families and educators to realize their rights. As an advocate, you can create awareness, build support, drive change, develop professionalism, promote childcare and family issues, and inform public policy. By strengthening families and understanding of their own power, you invest in family education and become a powerful voice for their needs and those children we care. Let's advocate together. for quality childcare and early education for all children in Georgia by dedicating, educating, and appreciating educators and families and children. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Herrera, and Tara and Sabrina. We really appreciate y'all being on with us tonight, and we really hope that you feel, everyone participating in this call today, that we, the 22 organizations hosting this call, are here and advocating on your behalf. And with that, I actually have the first raffle for tonight, and I'm very excited to announce that it is Sharon Foster. Congratulations, Sharon. You will receive a $50 gift card via email to Visa, Kroger. You got to pick which type of gift card you want, and you will receive shortly after the webinar. And so we really appreciate your time tonight. Awesome. So we are going to go ahead and move on, and I'm turning it over to Kelsey.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. I'm Kelsey Silvio with Voices for Georgia's Children, and I will be going over just a few advocacy basics for us. So we know that elected officials at every level in government, federal, state, and local, all have the opportunity to positively impact early childhood education. For today's purpose, I'm going to be mainly focusing on two levels, the federal and the state, and I'll really just kind of put out some information about the basics of each level, including who represents you, and then later on there'll be a deeper discussion about kind of what's happening and what we're watching at those levels related to early childhood education. So first we have the federal level. At the federal level, most of the decisions are happening in DC at or around Capitol Hill, and they're making decisions for laws and rules for the entire country. So the legislative branch federally is Congress, and it's made up of the Senate and the House of Representatives. On the Senate side, Georgia has 2 senators, just like every other state, and each of those senators represents the entire state. On the House side, Georgia has 14 congressional members, and that's based on population. So each represents a specific area of the state, and the average population for that representation is around 766,000. So at the federal level, you have your 2 senators, and you also have 1 House of Representative member, and they're working what is called a full-time legislature session, and that is when they're working year-round on all of the topics that kind of come their way. At the state level, a lot of the decisions, well, majority of the decisions are happening in Atlanta at our capital, which is also known as the Gold Dome, if you've heard that. And our legislative branch is referred to as the Georgia General Assembly. And so again, it is still Senate and House. Our Senate is made up of 56 members, with the representation population being around 191,000. And then on the House side, it's 180 members with representation of population around 60,000. So at the state level, you only have 1 senator and 1 House of Representative member, and they're working a part-time legislative session, which really just means the first 3 to 4 months of every year, depending on how the schedule shakes out, until sine die, which is the last day of legislative session. And this year that falls on April 4th, so it's quickly approaching. I will now hand it over to Laura Bracey.
Good evening. I'm Laura Bracey. I'm the Government Relations Director for the American Heart Association. And I'm going to talk through more specific tips about talking to legislators, which I know can be kind of nerve-wracking, but really at its core, advocacy is all about building relationships, which you guys all do every day. So this should be really easy. Think about it like this, just like you wouldn't ask someone you just met to help you move into a new home, pack all your stuff and move your stuff. You really want to get to know your lawmaker before you ask them for something. They're much more likely to do something for you when you know them. So here's a couple of tips. First, don't make assumptions and really speak from your heart. Your story is the most important thing that you can tell. Keep it brief, but direct. Don't make up facts. It is 100% fine when you're talking to a legislator to say, I don't know. be a resource for them, and follow up. Make sure that you're staying in constant contact. And always remember to be polite and respectful to their staff and anyone who works with them, because sometimes they are the key people to getting in with your legislator. Next slide. So just some things to keep in mind about advocacy, that it's really a marathon and not a sprint. Unfortunately, for some of us that like things to happen quickly, it really is a marathon and it takes a while for things to happen. But the urgency that you feel doesn't always match the pace of the policy. So just remember that every message, every signature and action gets us closer and closer to our goal. Advocacy can be a real numbers game. So as more people get involved and help and advocate, the full impact becomes clearer for policymakers to pass laws that support early educators and young children. And now I am going to pass it on to Mesa.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Aisa Williams-Foote, and I am serving as the president-elect for GAEYC, which is the state affiliate of NAEYC. Also, I serve as a director of strategy for the Council for Professional Recognition, which many of you know as the CDA Council. As you know, right now in Georgia and across our country, childcare remains one of the biggest expenses for our working families. Families across Georgia struggle to pay for childcare, and we understand that childcare is primarily paid and privately funded through parent tuition and fees. However, there are some existing early childhood programs that are taking some of this weight off of our families. Many of them are a combination of federal and state funding, which we'll talk about briefly. But Georgia's child care and services include child care, parent services programs, Head Start and Early Head Start, which I have my background is in Head Start and Early Head Start, is previously working at the Office of Head Start, Region 4 in Atlanta. So I know many of the educators on here represent Head Start. Thank you for the work that you're doing in spite of recent activities. And then we have our Georgia Pre-K program, preschool, special education, and CCAMS. These are all our existing programs in Georgia. However, we know that most of our advocacy is focused on funding. That's what matters. And one of the biggest things that's dear to me is ensuring that our early childhood educators receive a fair wage and a livable wage because they are educating and supporting our state's children, and that's what they deserve. And so through a mixture of state and federal funding, as you can see here, as the legend represents, we have our orange color is federal funding, and state is this darker blue color. So child care and parent services are funded 82% federal and 18% state. Head Start and Early Head Start is a federal to local program, which covers 100% of the programming. However, many of Head Start programs seek private dollars, philanthropy dollars, to offset the programming that they know meets the needs for their area that is not provided from Head Start. Then we have our Georgia Pre-K program, which is 100% state funded. Our preschool special education is 84% state and 16% federal. And then our CCAMS is 100% federally funded. And so this type of support supports student parents, and our families in Georgia, but ultimately the demand of these programs far outpace the supply. And so we still need additional support and additional funding. In addition, programs like CAPS and preschool special education under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, they receive funding, but also have a required state match. However, states can go above and beyond their state match, and that's what we are encouraging. So for today's action item, what can we do about this? We are going to primarily focus, and you'll hear more about this on CAPS and Head Start. We understand and we have seen some rumbling about Head Start funding, and we need your support. Ultimately, we need strong investments at all levels of government to support working families in the child care workforce. So next, I will pass this on to talk about our state level opportunities to Effie Finch Floyd. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Ife Finch Floyd, and I am with the Georgia Budget and Policy Institute. So we are going to talk a little bit about the state budget process, and that can be a very complicated process. So we wanted to provide just a quick overview of what it looks like. So at the beginning of legislative session, the governor recommends the governor releases and recommends his recommendation for the upcoming fiscal year. So the fiscal year starts July 1st and ends June 30th. In addition, he sets the revenue estimate for the next year. And in general, the budget or the total amount that's in the budget cannot be more than the revenue estimate. So after the governor releases his recommendations or her recommendations, the House starts and considers what the governor has already proposed. And they draft what's called an appropriations bill. Once the bill passes the House, it is considered by the Senate. And you can see by the red circle, this is where the budget currently is in the process. The versions of the budget passed by different chambers can differ. And so a select group of legislators called the Conference Committee will convene to compromise on one version of the bill. And the newest version of the bill is then sent back to the House and the Senate for a vote. Once that same version has been approved or passed by both the House and the Senate, they send it to the governor to sign following the end of the legislative session. On July 1st, the new fiscal year begins. So all that is to say, that was a lot. Even though we have a couple of weeks left in session, it's not over yet, but it will be soon. Also, there's sometimes a scarcity, not sometimes, often a scarcity mindset when it comes to programs and resources that support families and children in education. And that is because the improvement and those improvements aren't being made because the money isn't there. I have to pause for 1 second. My son is ringing the doorbell incessantly. So this is a childcare meeting. So I hope you guys know what that's like. Just 1 second. Okay, I apologize for the brief disruption. And my son is here saying hello very briefly. He'll say hi, Omari. Hi. Okay, great. So a lot of legislators often make the point that there's just not enough resources to support families, to support children. So next slide, please, Jessica.
I'm so sorry. I'm having a quick issue with the slides, but getting them right back up.
Okay, should I just go ahead and continue?
Yeah, if that's okay, I'll get them up in 1 second.
Okay. So they often make this argument that there's not enough resources, but the slide that we'll see in just a second really shows that that's not true. So at the start of this fiscal year 2025, Georgia has a record-breaking $11.5 billion in what's called unrestricted reserves. And that's above what's called our rainy day fund, right? So we have some resources for savings in case there is a recession or some other kind of funding disruption. And we might use our rainy day fund for that. But over and above our rainy day fund, we have $11.5 billion. Now, some people use the term surplus for this $11.5 billion, but I don't really like that term because if you think of a surplus, that assumes that we have met all the needs of Georgians, and we just simply have not done that. So we believe that state leaders could utilize some of these resources, this undesignated reserve, to significantly increase the investment in childcare. So you can see with this graph, the orange is again, kind of like our savings account or our rainy day fund. And that gray, which really started growing in 2021, is our undesignated reserve that some people call our surplus. Okay, next slide. Federal relief funding helps strengthen the CAPS program, allowing more families to access critical support in ensuring childcare providers, most of whom are small business owners, are adequately reimbursed for those children with a CAPS scholarship in their care. That funding has ended, leaving a $188 million gap in the CAPS program. Specifically, this has led the state agency to do a number of things to address this shortfall. So first, to decrease the number of children served from 74,000. Again, that was when we had those federal relief dollars. And it's now in the process of reducing that back down to about 50,000 children served. Also, the state has stopped covering the differential between the market and the published rates to families. And then finally, the state has also decreased the initial income eligibility. So we are going to ask you to take action in a minute. But first, we want to clarify that our state legislators do not have the ability to fix a lot of the logistical problems with CAPS. We know a lot of providers are on the call and have a lot of concerns around the payment system, et cetera. However, our state, that responsibility lies with DCAL, right? So that's with the administration. However, our state legislators can ensure that CAPS is adequately funded, which could help address many of the problems that the program faces, such as reimbursement rates and staffing shortages at DCAL. So the most recent version of the budget includes only $5.4 million for CAPS. The $5.4 million offers more support to childcare providers and adds 500 slots. So that's not a lot if we're talking about where we were with the federal relief resources. And again, we have a $188 million gap in funding. So we really lost more than 20,000 slots. Many other states, including a lot of our neighbors like Alabama, Louisiana, and Kentucky, have invested significantly more funding in their child care programs, and we really need our Georgia leaders to do the same. I'm going to pass it on now to Aidisha. Thank you.
Thank you, Ife. I think what she shared there is a great example of why it's time to take action. My name is Aidisha Bellamy, and I am the CEO of the Georgia Child Care Association. We're assembled here because we truly need your help to make child care a priority, even as this session begins to wind down. We believe that some change, even incremental change, is better than no change at all. As an existing program, increased funding for CAPS is one of the most politically viable and concrete ways that we can increase investment in child care at the state level. Even if you don't participate in CAPS, the budget is a moral document, a statement of where our priorities as a state lie. Our state legislators are bombarded with information about various problems that need policy solutions. However, only a few issues rise to the level of their attention and action. At the same time, all of the participating organizations here today, we're in it for the long haul. We see you, we hear you, and we are working to lay the groundwork for the significant policy change. That is what providers, educators, and families actually need. At this time, a link is being placed in the chat. And this is the opportunity for you to take action. Every additional dollar, every additional dollar that goes into early childhood education is an investment in our country's recovery and its future. The link in the chat will make it easy for you to directly contact your elected officials by putting in your address. There is a sample message in there that you have the choice to personalize if you would like. With just a couple of clicks, you can make a huge impact. You can also call your legislator, and we highly encourage you to consider doing both. Please go to the link in the chat and fill out our action alert right now. Consider personalizing your message, maybe by sharing how important programs like CAPS, which support the affordability and accessibility of childcare, are, and how those CAPS programs have positively impacted your program or families. Or you can talk about how the end of improvements that were made during the period of relief, such as increased reimburse rates and the number of children served, how those going away will impact your families and your programs. And this is the same whether or not you accept CAPS. I'm going to stop talking for a few minutes to give you a chance to fill out this action alert. Feel free to ask any questions through the Q&A feature.
Excuse me, that's the decal site. That is not the GEEARS site that it's been put into the chat box.
It's actually right below it. So there's you can submit a CAPS customer service request, but then there's one right below it, the www.gears.org/CAPS. It just got put in the chat again. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
People are having trouble with the link. You can also scan for it. We did double check, though it should be working.
If you've had success with submitting your letter, would you put a thumbs up in the chat? Just looking for 1 or 2 folks that had success with that. Right, it looks like we have 3 people here who had a bit of success with that. And so I'm going to move on to the next fun part of the presentation, and that is our second raffle. I always appreciate having the chance to deliver a bit of good news. And for today, Angela Brown, you have won a $50 gift card to your choice of many major brands, including Visa, Walmart, Amazon, or Kroger. It will be sent to your email address. So congratulations, Angela Brown. And at this time, I will turn it over to Carrie with the YMCA. Thank you.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for being here. Appreciate everybody. And just wanted to say that I know that at the YMCA and all of our community partners that this time of year is always interesting and uncertain, but what we do matters. And so I think as we come together and partner is where we can really show what we do best. So appreciate everybody being here, filling out the action alerts, and doing what y'all do each and every day.
Thank you so much, Carrie. And I'm going to toss it over to Jamie.
Thank you all so much. It's so great to be here. I'm going to share my screen. And hopefully now folks see what I see. Opportunity to make your voice heard. All right, at the federal level, great. So hi again, everyone. My name is Jamie Worker. I'm Senior Director of Policy and Research at Carrying Across Generations. And I have the pleasure of being with you all today to talk a little bit about how we make our voices heard at the federal level and what's happening now. And I want to start by talking a little bit about a process called the budget reconciliation, which is a little bit different from, despite using the word budget, it's different from how the federal government decides how to use all of the resources that it has in its spending process. So, but budget reconciliation is a critical tool that is now a focus and will impact how some federal dollars can be used. So I wanted to highlight some pieces here. So first, why does Congress use the budget reconciliation process? The Senate rules require that most bills get a supermajority of votes. So that means 60 out of 100 senators to overcome a filibuster process and pass. That's what has to happen in the regular budget process. But the budget reconciliation process allows senators to expedite the legislature's approval with a simple majority vote, so 50 plus 1, or 50 votes plus the vote of the vice president in the current environment that we're in. And so it offers the majority party a path to advance legislation that lacks support from the minority party. So this has been used in several recent pieces of legislation. So things like the Affordable Care Act was passed using budget reconciliation, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act in 2017, the American Rescue Plan in 2021, also the Inflation Reduction Act in 2022. All of these used budget reconciliation, and it meant that the majority party in the Senate held fewer than 60 seats and couldn't have met that 60 vote requirement in order to move the legislation forward. A few notes around the steps in the process for reconciliation. The first step is that Congress passes a budget resolution. So this resolution provides instructions for specific House and Senate committees to write parts of the reconciliation bill and tells each committee how much to change spending or revenue. And that's another key note about the budget reconciliation process. It's not fair game on all of federal dollars. It's very specific to spending and revenue pieces, and targets for things like debt and deficit levels. And so the resolution offers the container for the bills. And that relates to the second step, which is that the committees that are referenced in the budget resolution must then follow the instructions and write bills that follow those instructions. So and then the third step is more similar to other legislative processes. It goes through the markup period where changes can be made, And then, but ultimately, both the Senate and the House have to agree on the same budget resolution in order for a reconciliation bill to ultimately get to the president's desk and be signed. And so that leads us to where we are today. So on February 21st, the Senate passed their budget resolution, which outlined a two-part plan that would push decisions on cutting spending to keep programs that support children and families. And then on February 25th, the US House passed a very different budget resolution that would also drastically and much more drastically cut funding to programs that support children and families. And so in order for the Senate and House to really move forward and come to an agreement and get something to the president's desk, the House and Senate have to come to an agreement, as I mentioned, and because we have these dueling approaches and because there are members in the House in particular that are very intent upon drastic cuts, the proposed House budget resolution is what the Senate is currently grappling with when trying to come to an agreement. And so that gets us to our next slide, which focuses on the different committees that are received instructions in that budget resolution. So one of those committees is the Energy and Commerce Committee, which sounds really vague and not very helpful title, but it covers a lot of programs that we care about, including Medicaid and Medicare, also mental health and substance abuse supports, environmental protections, consumer protections, food and drug safety, biomedical research, and more. But the vast majority of those dollars come from Medicaid and Medicare, and Medicaid in particular is at risk here. And so there's no way to get to the scale of cuts that are proposed by the House. So this is not a given, just to be super clear, this is not a given, but there is no way to get to the scale of cuts proposed by the Energy and Commerce Committee without significant cuts to Medicaid that would impact children and families today. So in addition to that, also the Education and Workforce Committee in the House Budget Resolution proposed a minimum of $330 billion in cuts, including, and that committee is responsible for overseeing Head Start, CCDF, which also provides funding to CAPS, preschool special education, Babies Can't Wait, the National School Lunch and Breakfast Program, Children and Adult Care Food Programs, and also summer food programs. And then the third committee that received instructions in the House proposed budget resolution is the Agriculture Committee, and that committee is responsible for overseeing funding for SNAP or food assistance, and also support for farmers as well. And that committee was instructed to write legislation that would propose a minimum of $230 billion in cuts. And so I know I'm running out of time, so I just wanted to wrap up by highlighting a couple things in terms of what's next. So the House and Senate, again, have to come to an agreement about what is at stake and what's possible about what's moving forward. But this offers us more information about how to effectively advocate for what's at stake for Georgia's families is, I think, the most important takeaway. and want to make sure that we highlight too this sign-on opportunity. Jessica, did you want to share that slide?
Yeah, sure. So we have a sign-on letter. I know that really sounds complicated, but the short answer is like these are really, really drastic cuts that are proposed right now, and we really need your voice. And there's an organizational sign-on letter that everyone on this call is putting out to try to get as many individuals and organizations signed on as possible to oppose those drastic cuts. And so you can scan the QR code, and then you can also, if the QR code's not your style, there's also a link in the chat.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you, Jamie. And we are actually going to turn it over. And that link's going to stay in the chat, but we're going to keep it moving. And I'm going to turn it over to Erin Clark with 9 to 5 Georgia.
Great, thank you, Jessica. So I'm going to be sharing some ways to take action as we move forward and to talk about what we are doing together moving forward. As Laura mentioned earlier, advocacy is a marathon, not a sprint, but looks like we all just signed up for a marathon together. We are committed to working toward a future where early educators are adequately supported and compensated for the work that they do in caring and educating our youngest learners. So in the last few minutes, we want to hear from you on what policies you would like to see us advocate for. So we have used Slido already tonight. You can, if you have joined us since the last time we used Slido, you can scan the QR code, or you can put that code in at slido.com, and you can answer the question. What policies would you like to see us advocate for? And I will give folks a second to put their answers in that Slido, and the link is also in the chat. All right, and we are seeing some answers come in. We see support for families in need. We would like to see us advocate for additional funding, as well as for tort reform, higher wages, additional funding for CAPS. We're seeing a theme there. No cuts. The Child Care Trust Fund that Ife spoke about. Grants, funding for family needs. Folks want to see us advocating for Medicaid, for higher state minimum wage, public and private partnerships. All right, and folks can continue to add to the chat. And we see that there are a lot of challenges that providers and parents are facing. And there are also a lot of solutions, and you all are highlighting some of the key things that you want us to focus on as we are planning out our advocacy, as we're continuing to fight for, to work towards a future where early educators are adequately supported. And so we would also like to share some additional ways to help. You can post on social media to share why Georgia needs childcare. You can share your story to strengthen our advocacy efforts, and you can organize families and other childcare providers to take action. So in regards to that last point of organizing families and other childcare providers, we know that if we want to win significant, sustained funding for childcare, we need to build power with childcare providers and families across Georgia. There were 115 people on this call, and if half of us were to speak to 10 other people, we would reach 500 people, which would be an incredible number of folks that we can engage with. So if you are interested in organizing families and you don't know where to start, 9 to 5 Georgia has a toolkit for hosting a small gathering of friends and families to talk about what we have been talking about tonight and to share how people can take action. And so we would love to support you in being able to participate and to host your own gathering. 9 to 5 is also able to provide stipends on request for folks who need support for hosting these gatherings. So if you would like to sign up to host one of these gatherings to really share what we've talked about tonight with a lot more people, you can sign up at the link in the chat. And with that, I am going to pass it to Mindy to close us out.
Thanks, Erin, and thanks to all of you for being here for the hour. I hope that you have learned something and been inspired to act together. So first, I'm excited to announce our very last raffle winner. This is exciting. And our last raffle winner is Consuela Carter. Consuela, congratulations. You are the winner of a gift card of your choice to many major brands, including Visa, Walmart, Amazon, Kroger, and it'll be sent to the email that you registered with. So congratulations, Consuela. We're glad that you're here and I see you in the chat. So that's all exciting. And as we close out, I want to thank you for showing up and for making your voice heard. First of all, I want to thank you to all of these amazing partners who co-hosted today. There is power in our partnership and power in collaboration. I also want to thank Georgia's early childhood workforce. You've heard we are 72,000 people strong, and there's powers in those numbers. You bring your expertise, your education, your skills to work with you every day to support high quality early learning and healthy development for Georgia's youngest children. And there's power in your expertise and power in the love you show for these children. You have a deep understanding of your children's and your students' experiences. You see how they bloom when they have access to high quality early education and you see the irreplaceable opportunities lost when they don't. There's power in your voices. And now we need you to tell your friends, your colleagues, the parents that you work with to take action. And as we said earlier, when we band together as a large unified community, we cannot be ignored. We also hope that this is just the start of your advocacy journey. In a follow-up email that you will receive, believe me, we will be in touch a lot. You'll get the links that we shared, but we'll also give you a lot of resources from all the co-hosts on this call. Finally, well, not quite finally, but I want to thank you for the work you do each and every day. We truly appreciate everything you do to set up your youngest learners for success. I also want to really thank everyone who made this call possible. Again, our co-hosts, the GEEARS team, both behind the scenes and on the screens, and all of you who showed up. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We have a survey so that you can share feedback with us. It's not just to get the feedback on the town hall, but to give you more opportunities to share your challenges, your question, your participation in future advocacy events. So if you click the link in the chat, you can share your thoughts with us. And we are almost at time, but again, I just want to emphasize how important this moment is. This moment is critical. Your voices will continue to be important. We've got to keep up the advocacy. Our officials need to hear from us. And as colleagues, we all need to support each other in this journey. So thank you. I hope you get outside to enjoy a little bit of sunlight and sunshine before the day ends. And thanks again.